Nope, can't be done. How many of you have heard this when you presented an idea or plan to others? A lot, almost all of you. I was leading the task force for my first big project in a new brand management job. I'm presenting the plan, and Tom says, nope, can't be done. That meeting came to a screeching halt as my project crashed full force into a solid brick wall. Did not matter how much potential it had. And I'm thinking, but this can't fail. Who is this guy? I've spent 4 decades in creative design, marketing, and the educational fields, all requiring innovative creative problem solving. My dissertation and book were on creativity and transformative learning. And I've embarked upon a path of curiosity. When are organizations most productively creative? See, we think creativity should be fun, but it's also serious work. Broadly speaking, our lives and this planet's sustainability depend upon innovation. Individuals and organizations must be ready to solve problems we can't even imagine, requiring productive creativity. So I dove into research from multiple domains, and I developed a new model. I discovered the sweet spot at the intersection of 4 conditions that either inhibit or foster creativity in any organization. And when they're in sync, it's good. I'll share with you this model, but first, back to its beginnings and Tom's, nope, it can't be done. I asked why. Knowing why gets to the insight and the problem to solve. But instead, oh no, we went down the why not rabbit hole of cannots. My task force meeting was an utter failure that day. My father always told me, though, can't never did anything. So later, I stopped by Tom's office. Tell me again the challenges we're facing? I listened, then said, interesting. And how could this be done? And he says to me, no one's ever stopped by my office and asked me this before. And in that moment, and I didn't realize it then, something subtle but almost magical happened. Yes, we understood each other, but that's not the only thing. We shifted into how could this thing be done? And equally important, we neutralized the why nots and cannots. We magically turned brick walls into challenges we could creatively solve together. So here's the lesson. I've been asking the wrong question. It is not why. Why can't? Can't is endless and virally contagious. But it is how could we? I'd stumbled across the antidote to nope, it can't be done. So when are organizations most productively creative? Every organization has problems to solve and are trained in assessing risks, how things cannot be done. In the SIPO model I developed, we reframe to how could things be accomplished across 4 conditions to cultivate an organization's creativity sweet spot. And these conditions are: what society needs and assumptions are inhibiting or fostering creativity in this situation? Is the individual ready and enabled to creatively solve problems? Are those in power truly open and fostering productive creativity? And are the organization systems inhibiting or fostering creativity in this situation? When we remove the barriers, the walls across all 4 conditions, then productive creativity can flourish. But if any one of these conditions inhibit idea development, even accidentally, then innovation will be much more difficult. We know, based on research, all the many things we can do to help or hurt creativity across all 4 of these conditions. But today, I'm just going to give you an example of each. The first SIPO model condition is society. Society serves as a metaphorical petri dish that influences the relationship between the individual, those in power, and the organization. Creativity manifests at the sweet spot in the center. In an activity I use, I give participants a paper square to stand on with 2 rules. When I say go, they must change squares. And they must always keep a toe on a square. So when I say go, I remove squares, and they fight over the diminishing number. A few, however, they noticed that I touched the square table or wall when repeating, any square will do. These people remove themselves from that mob fight in the middle, and they smugly shift from tile to tile. Others fight on, hoping to win. When I halt this experiment, I ask that mob in the middle, what game did you think you were playing? Most say, hey, this was like musical chairs, which is a childhood game where every time the music stops, a chair is removed, and the first one to sit in that last chair wins. These people were referring to a rule book from a past game they understood. To play in this brand new, undefined situation. They didn't know that the entire room was full of squares and there were plenty to go around. We use societal rule books every day. What invisible brick walls are closing us in that we can't even see? Yes, and how could we identify and remove these? The second SIPO model condition is the individual. We know everyone is creative in one way or another. But are they empowered? To deal with brick walls like the one I hit, we must face reality, the brutal facts. Tom and I both knew our jobs, we were committed, we were focused, we were individually ready to creatively challenge and solve problems. I could see the vision. Tom's creative strength was seeing the risks in something. And once we built trust, use this, not to limit, but to creatively solve challenges we might face. I learned to rely on him as my red flag guy. That's the person that waves a red flag in an automobile race, warning cars to stop as there's imminent danger ahead. Yes, and how could we enhance individual readiness? We know creative problem-solving skills can be trained. SIPO model condition 3, power. We know those in power can also be trained. How many of us said that we've presented an idea and had it shot down? Then, how many said, nope, never again? We inadvertently shut down ideas every single day. Yes, but we can't afford it. Yes, but they won't approve it. Yes, but brick wall, brick wall, brick wall. What if we used our antidote? Yes, and how could we make this successful? See, yes, and how could builds. Yes, and how could we invite solutions? One simple change from those in power, and we go over, under, around, and through those brick walls with productive creativity. It's magical. Tom and I worked for a founder that regularly touted, winners make it happen, which demanded productive creative problem solving. And in our first task force, as we checked off how to make it happen after another, we found ourselves doing really unusual things. I even bought neon pink ink, a seat on a passenger plane, to get it to the manufacturer on time. So after my first how could we lesson, I framed a sign that said "run through walls" to remind us to convert barriers into challenges that we could productively and creatively solve together. So yes, and how could those empower, reward, make space for, yet incite an energy and an urgency to create a culture of innovation? It can happen. Which brings us to the final SIPO model condition, the organization. What systems within the organization are inhibiting or fostering creativity within this situation? The reason Tom shut down our task force with "nope, it can't be done" was driven by an approval process that we called the purple sheet. Every department had to sign off on something before we launched it. Designed with the best intentions in mind to communicate and avoid risk, it also was a time-consuming bureaucratic process. We solved this with a simple exception signing party. Touched it all at once. Simple. Organization culture can be powerful. Setting up continuous innovation process highlights the priority for productive creativity. Yes, and how could we do this? Most of us want to create a culture of innovation, and we know group training works when we can safely challenge. Yes, but what rule books are holding us back? Yes, and how could our systems move us forward? So when are organizations most productively creative? It's when we use our antidote to "nope, it can't be done." It's when we create and foster creativity across all 4 conditions of our SIPO model that we shift into making this world a better place. Globally, we're facing diminishing resources. Some of us have outrageous dreams. So together, let's ignite productive creativity across this planet. And you better be asking, interesting, and how could we? How could this be done? Thank you.